Next up, if you've ever been around balloons in Omaha, Rich Jaworski had something to do with it, I'm sure. Today, to introduce him are two of my friends, two Matts, Matt Brody and Matt Fenster. You both can come up because I couldn't figure out which one of you to go first, and you both can come up. Matt Brody operates a repair station now in Albuquerque. He actually owns a repair station now, and he's been very accomplished again because of Rich Jaworski. And Matt Fenster here also is a very accomplished balloonist. He served with me on the board of directors for the BFA for 3 years. And he also beat me by that much in 2014. He got his name up there, and I was second. So Matt, whichever wants to go first. I'm going first, but not all of him.
Thank you for beauty.
Yeah, Rich, we're going to apologize for whatever happens here today. So good afternoon, my name is Matt Fenster, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to be here today to speak as part of Dr. Rich Jaworski's Hall of Fame induction. I first had the opportunity to meet Rich in the summer of 1989, right here in Indianola, Iowa, at the start of the first annual National Balloon Classic. I would like to say that Rich hand-selected my buddy Lance and I to crew for him, but just the opposite of that, he actually tried to get rid of us. If it wasn't for Sue Gallagher taking charge, Sue's right here, raising her hand there, taking charge and saying that we need some young able bodies on this crew, my ballooning career may never have gotten off the ground, and I may not be standing in front of you here today. Now, crewing for Rich Jaworski was always a piece of cake. He always picked great landing spots, had lightweight fabric in his envelope, and was never picky about where things went. Yeah, I'm bullshitting on that. So what was it really like? In regards to those landing spots, the one thing I can say about Rich is he has always been an expert. Matter of fact, I would say he has perfected the art of avoiding road landings, mowed front yards, and cut hayfields. Instead, he would focus his efforts and even pass directly over the pristine mowed yards to get to those suitable landing locations, which had lock gates, waist-high weeds, or 6-foot ravines that had to be crossed. Even when he made a mistake and landed in the pristine mowed yard, that mowed yard turned out to be a cemetery, and yet Rich has been known to knock over a tombstone or two in his day. Now earlier I mentioned fabric, and when you think about Rich Jaworski and his iconic Euphoria envelope, one word comes to everybody's mind: bunting. Now, as an 18-year-old back in 1989, I can assure you that I had no idea what bunting was. Never heard of it. What I quickly learned, however, was that it was this extra phase fabric placed strategically right in the middle of the balloon that literally had no purpose in the flight integrity of the balloon, but did add about 50 pounds of weight to the envelope. Bunting, good times. I do have to admit, however, the bunting on Euphoria looked really cool. But perhaps the coolest memory I have about Euphoria's bunting was watching it float, then begin to flap when Rich would do his terminal descents. The harder the flap, the faster you knew he was coming down. You could literally tell how fast he was dropping just based on the flap of the bunting. Now, if you knew Rich at all, you figured out really quickly that he was organized, and I mean really organized. And his attention to detail was crazy. Pretty sure that may have something to do with his nuclear engineering career. When crewing for Rich, you quickly learned that Rich had a place for everything, and he made sure you knew that there was a place for everything. Matter of fact, you know how pilots have checklists? And I'm not joking you about this. He had a checklist for where things went in the van. Now, in all seriousness, it was this unbelievable organization and attention to detail that made Rich a world record setter, a quality instructor, and an amazing competitor. Whether it was flying to an altitude of 33,000 feet, reaching speeds of 97 miles an hour, or setting one of his 3 world records, Dr. Jaworski's attention to detail, organizational skills, and dedication was of utmost importance. I have often thought that there is no way I could do half the things he has accomplished, at least not do that and survive. For just a second, think about a couple of things he had to figure out. how to keep that pilot light lit above 30,000 feet, how to design lightweight fuel tanks, or how much fuel is needed to be carried for 20 plus hours. For those of us he trained, that organization, attention to detail, and dedication is what made us the pilots we are today. Rich had step-by-step lesson plans for both flight and ground instruction, but what was most impressive was his dedication to us through the training. As you all know, life sometimes gets in the way of your instruction. You know, college, kids, breakups, jobs, sickness. But Rich always kept us moving forward, whatever challenges we ran into. I can honestly say there was never a time I had to ask Rich when my next lesson was. He was the one who let me know when the next lesson would occur and made sure I was there. And even after we got our licenses, it was Rich who would encourage us to fly different events in various locations of the country, over different trains in higher winds than we would like, all in the effort to improve our skills. And Rich, I very much appreciate that push. The other place I would say that Rich's organization and attention to detail came to light was in his competition flying, and I can honestly say Rich constantly looked for ways to improve his skills and become a better competitor. A couple of things that stood out to me was number one, and I call this the secret. Long before things like Google Maps or Onsite Target were invented, Rich had this very big competitive advantage. That advantage was having aerial photos of the competition area. And I swear, Rich, I've never told anybody about this since this day. If you remember, Rich had this 5x5 map board. I swear it's the biggest map board that was ever invented. And everybody thought he just had his map in there, but he actually had those aerial photos tucked in there. They were actually numbered by quadrants of the map, so he knew which one he had to pull out for the area he was flying. And then those aerial photos wouldn't appear until he was either in the van or in the balloon already. The other piece of attention to detail that I really noticed after each flight was that Rich would sit down and review all parts of his flight. I witnessed him on many occasions rereading the task sheets, looking at those aerial maps, and literally reflying the flight in his mind. It was this attention to detail and desire to get better that allowed him to win the National Blue Classic in 1989 and 1991, the Team U.S. Nationals in 2001, and numerous weekend rallies. Now, for those of you who spent a lot of time with Rich, we not only saw his organization and attention to detail, we had the opportunity to see his competitiveness, caring, and humorous side. Just a few memories that come to my mind, and I'll talk about Indial and Battle Creek. For Battle Creek Rich, I remember our team meetings, dinner at Ryan's, the pendant Rich put in my window during Team Nationals that said, "One team, one dream." Rich telling Jason Jones after a long flight in Battle Creek in which Jason complained about landing on fumes, Rich said, "I guess Mrs. Jones had better buy Mr. Jones an extra tank." And then after that same week, after Jason and I really didn't fly all that great, Rich just looked at us with a smile and said, "You two just need to fly better." Then the last memory, just kind of on the way home from Battle Creek Ridge, and that was my dog eating Pat Rangel's prize cookies that he tried to save all the way home. Then memories from Indianola, there was a spaghetti dinner at the Catholic Church, Raccoon Road. Sitting in the Hamilton house with Rich, my dad, and Matt Whitaker ordering my first balloon. Hamilton House turkey tender potlucks. Emily and I spending our honeymoon sleeping in the Hamilton house with Rich. The BCFA and Rich and Don Fenster teaming up to be the harmonica panhandling duo. Though I have many other memories that I would love to share, and I'd be happy to do so over a beer. In the interest of time, I'll wrap this up. Rich, it is my honor to congratulate you, my first pilot, my instructor, my mentor, and my dear friend, on your Hall of Fame induction. I cannot think of anyone more deserving. Congratulations.
I don't do public speaking. I do public harassing. I've got a list of things I could cover, which is kind of funny, because normally I don't make goofy high altitude. There's days where you wish you could go back and unintroduce yourself to certain individuals. The day I met Rich Jaworski was not one of those. The man changed my life forever. He put me on a path to low income and pure and utter happiness. I've never been happier in my life. I own a repair station in New Mexico. I've got a commercial pilot license and 6 balloons that I rarely fly because I'm too busy fixing other people's. But when I first met you and started hanging out with you, my parents were worried about who this guy is that I was hanging out with. They finally figured out, you're just a crazy doctor. So, I was simply looking to get more involved in ballooning. My first flight with you was out of the corner of 72nd and Dodge in questionable weather conditions. Okay. I still have the scar from the 25-gallon lay-down tank collar. I'll take it. Battle scars. But after a number of months, he says, well, I can either pay you to crew for me or I can teach you to fly. I obviously made the expensive decision. It took a while for Rich to realize that I was working nights, and when he called me to say it's time to go fly, I was already up. I hadn't gone to bed yet, and I sound chipper as could be. This worked to the advantage in Indianola because I'd stay up all night and I was just ready to go. The worst part is that you learn what an older man's whitey Lucy looked like because he would walk through the living room and out on the balcony of Hamilton House and trot back to bed as I'm sitting there watching TV super quietly, so I try not to disturb anybody. But this was memories, Rich, that I can't get out of my head even with therapy. Even with therapy. But I did experience the softer side of Rich when it came to competition. Those moments of pure calmness, of you with Tinkerbell over your head, happy thoughts. This one's for your wife. So I was lucky to be part of that, So my first balloon I did buy from Rich, and he had some stipulations on it when I bought it, and I realized why. So it was a 77,000 3-foot Aerostar with 750 hours on it. It did make it to about 900, which was awesome. Good job, love that Aerostar fabric. But he sold it to me, he says, you can't sell this to anybody in Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas City, Missouri, South Dakota, Iowa, Wyoming. And I said, what's the deal with that? He says, well, if somebody gets into an accident, I don't change my pattern, I want to know it's you. And I can keep tabs on you. So that's why he sold it to me. It was like dangling keys in front of a teenager. Thank you. Yeah. So I got experience being part of a world record flight, multiple world record flights. 27 below zero, freezes, saline that goes into catheters. He's sitting in the truck, wanting to put his catheter in, and the saline's frozen. I literally threw him a towel and said, good luck. There was also a call to your daughter Jane going, hey, I can't see where it's at, where do I pee? That was a fun call, but we love you. Nope. This one will open the museum. I got called to help Rich with a flight up to 34,000 feet, something I probably won't ever do because I'm a large mammal, I eat food. So I get to help out with crew, world record flights, I'm good with that. So I'll do what I can. I don't want to be in a balloon for like a week to set a world record. But it was great, and it was a fantastic memory. We went to Oklahoma so you could go through the chamber of I never thought I'd go shopping with you to get your first pair of Velcro laced shoes. Success. Success. But after that flight, you know, this is on my wall at my house, so this one can go on the wall at your house. It is the picture that I'm going to treasure forever. That's kind of the face we're making. There is a softer side to you, and I gotta say I was so happy about it. You know, I'm lucky enough to still have my father, but I'm also lucky enough to have you as a second father in blooming. And you know, out of all the presenters up here, I think I'm the youngest guy. I can only hope that somewhere along the way that I do something honorable enough to get one of these plaques someday. Congratulations.
You guys are all plugged into a core of important historical movements, and just being part of this is way beyond anything I ever thought I would do. I'm an engineer. Learning was not my creative profession. It became a part of my life that has added a lot of enrichment to it. I was a Cub Scout at age 10, 11 years old. My father put together a Cub Scout display of the World War I wounded who were trained in Oklahoma. They were lucky to be trained at all, but they flew in World War I after it was all in place. But at the end of this exhibit, we took two neurological balloons outside and let them go. It was at night after the city was all lit up. And as I watched the balloons float across the city, I had just wondered what it would be like to fly. And that's where I started, and that was in 1952. There weren't any higher balloons. I didn't have to play it. But we had a great time getting together with our Boy Scouts who were at high knots. How many of you have leadership training and being How many of you have ever had a chance to go out and selfies with people or organize activity at any Cub Scouting, Boy Scouting, schooling and training is something that adds a lot to our youth. We're going to miss that. Must be supported. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all the help from my family and friends. Well, these guys I don't know about. My family, I want to thank you for all of your support over these 40, 50 years of blooming and very committed to all of them. I think, wow. A core of delegation here today that assembled for brunch. You stand up. These are the people that kept me going over 50 years. These are the people that kept me going all this time. They're the ones that I've received the thrill of flying with and being with, that didn't hear you. I didn't do it. I've got things I want to talk about as to why I'm here, but I think the message that I want to leave, but these people are the ones that made it for me. My first comment is I want to thank the community of Indianola for all these successful years of St. June. Wouldn't be here today without them. None of us would be here. For the first few years here with the few balloons and watching Comstock come up and all the medals and then write a book about gaming. It's just one of those things that Indianola deserves a lot of credit for keeping this event alive. And I've been here for all of the last one, which nobody was here for a year, and all the events being done. But when you think about it, my family has spent over 50 weeks on vacation here. And these people are part of my family, and so we contribute a lot to the economy around here. The next thing I want to talk about is the fact that we share what we learn in the balloon. When I started thinking about going for high altitude flight, my flight to 33,500 feet was done because Ed Chapman from Minneapolis said, "Hey Rich, I can equip you to do that. I can help you do that." And he sat in the control center in Minneapolis so I could do it on my own. That was an example of sharing that he heard adults share with me too. When I first started talking about going to ballooning, Google once said, "Oh, Bert, they'll be good balloon for you." So I did. And Bert said this was like in February. Yeah, okay, I'll do this. And then about April, I remember he said, "No, I don't think I can do that." And that's when Bruce Comstock stepped up and said, "I'll do it." And he did. I mean, with Bruce, we got the balloon. I wanted to do it, and it was successful. So sharing your experiences, sharing your knowledge is something that has to happen. This guy, he's the one that started introducing me as a Hall of Famer. I didn't have no idea it was going to happen. What are you doing back there, Bill? But sharing the information and keeping the information flowing is part of what we all need to do as we go through our careers as ballooners. Another important part about ballooning is growing. I learned over many years that you have to keep refreshing yourself, challenging yourself to do new things. I enjoyed the competition. First I enjoyed the flying, then I enjoyed the competition, and then I enjoyed going after the records. But I wasn't a program to go after all these things. I had an engineering job. I had a 24-hour-a-day job at a power plant where I was an engineering manager. And that kept me away from doing the things that a lot of people do. But I did manage to have time to go to the ballooning where I could get away from the power plant for a weekend. That was wonderful. But I encourage everyone to enjoy ballooning, but also avoid complacency and topping out your skills. If you want to improve yourself, follow the BFA and FAI sporting badge efficiency programs. They are keys to challenging yourself more. If I hadn't done long jumps and worked with those and learned the tricks of how to keep people in the air on no fuel, I would have been there. Last thing I want to comment on the power of a balloon. When you fly over somebody's house, you hear another person say, "I do" in a balloon. It really means a lot. The power of a balloon carries over. The most powerful experience I had was one Sunday morning I landed my balloon, and the crew went up to the farmhouse to get permission to come and retrieve. Little old man, like bulgy bullet one Sunday morning, Tuesday morning, I get a phone call. And the lady on the phone said, did you launch your balloon out by Fremont last Sunday? And I said, yes, I did. I don't know what to expect. And she said, well, my mother died Saturday night. And she was always going to go to heaven in a red balloon. That's a hard act to follow. But a balloon creates a lot of things for everybody that sees it, even hears about it. And I want to thank everybody for their help. These last two guys, I'm not sure what to say about.